Okay, so before we get started, we have to talk about Game 5, the Raptors versus Golden State. As we all know by now, the Raptors lost by one point, but the game is not over.
No, I mean,
the series isn't over.
No, the series is not over. The Raptors are still going to take it home, but midnight, and my heart is racing. And I'm thinking I'm not the only one that had to have a lot of coffee just to stay awake today. But what an exciting time for our whole country. I mean, I've been in sports a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, like when the Oilers were winning the Stanley Cup, so that was Edmonton and anybody. But everybody across Canada is getting on the bandwagon. Now, by the way, you're not on the bandwagon, Maggie. You were like driving the bandwagon.
The John family have been die-hard Raptors fans way before, when nobody was in the seats and we were the only ones there, and they weren't a part of any sort of series. But we are so happy that the country has come together to support the only NBA team in Canada. So we are so excited. So I want to ask you a question. We're going to move on. How would you rate your marriage?
Well, maybe just give me a couple minutes to think about that. Because here's the deal, is that men often rank it higher than women.
This is true. Well, today we discuss a vertical marriage with Dave and Ann Wilson, and...
Yeah, we got Robbie Simons also. Yesterday you guys were talking about that Hope Milk thing.
Yep.
Yeah, and anyway, we're talking about Hope today. That's coming up with Robbie a little bit later on.
But first, recently in the news, you might remember that a year ago, the federal government issued a new summer job attestation that limited federal grant money to religious charities, leaving over 1,500 charities without funding if they didn't ascribe to the new requirements that many felt jeopardized their spiritual beliefs.
Well, you know, there's been some slight changes to the attestation this year. Many faith organizations felt at least it was a move in the right direction, but some faith groups feel the denial of federal grant money is due to their religious beliefs.
We are joined by Phil Whitehead, the executive director of the Bible-Centered Ministries Camps, one of the organizations that was refused a federal grant this year. Welcome, Phil.
Good morning.
Okay, Phil, first thing is, how many years have you been applying for these federal grants?
Well, somewhere around 10 years, I guess, at each of our camps.
Okay, and this year your application was rejected. What was the response given to you by Service Canada?
Well, both Service Canada in both cases said that they had asked us a question to give them further information, and they said that our answer wasn't sufficient for them to proceed with the grant.
Okay, a little bit of background too. This really is over the abortion issue. You know, we talk about the reproductive rights, that's at least coming from the federal government. So do you feel that's why you were rejected and others like you?
I can't say that for sure, because it's not really a part of our ministry. We work with children. And the subject doesn't even come up with us. You won't find it in our websites. You won't find it in our publishing, our material that we publish. So I can't say that abortion directly applied to it, but who we are could have.
So the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms has decided to take legal action on behalf of the camps. What are they hoping to do?
Well, they're claiming the amount of grants that we should receive. They're claiming them from the federal government.
So what does that mean? Are they going to reapply for you? What is exactly the issue that they're hoping to be able to achieve or target once they've applied for this?
Well, they have entered a claim against the federal government in federal court in Calgary. And they're claiming that we were unduly declined. And so they are requesting that the government give us the funds that we would have received should our applications have been accepted.
Okay, well, Phil, we're certainly going to be praying about this, and we know that there has been a link that's been drawn to the evangelical community and the whole abortion issue. And as you said, it's not on your website, and let's just pray that this will turn around. And you're going to be doing the camps regardless, right?
Oh, yes, we're committed to that. And so we've gone to our constituency and said, can you help us? Because these funds pay our summer staff.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Phil, for that update, and we will be following this case as it goes along. Thanks again.
Thanks, Phil.
Well, thank you.
Well, let's head over to your conversation.
Yeah, we're going to talk about marriage, vertical marriage.
I'm still waiting for your answer, but we'll...
I promise I'll give it to you.
All right. Don't go away.
What is the key to a successful marriage? Happily ever after may not be as easy as fairy tales make it out, but something is changing. In the United States, divorce rates dropped a whole 18% from the year 2008 to 2016. How can two people make a marriage work and still find joy within themselves and each other? Married couple Dave and Ann Wilson wrote Vertical Marriage with that question in mind.
She said she had lost her feelings for me. I honestly had no idea.
Dave and Ann are the founders of Kensington Church, a national multi-campus church hosting over 14,000 attendees every weekend. For 25 years, they've been helping couples redeem their marriage. Dave and Ann joined 100 Huntley Street to share their story.
The pain that you've gone through, the brokenness, he sees you and wants to restore you.
So when it comes to rating our marriages 1 to 10, there's usually a gap between husband and wife. The guys have it closer to 10. The ladies often it's south of that. In many cases, way south. Well, at least in the early years of holy matrimony. Our couple on the show today, they were at opposite ends of the scale, but they found help and they found hope. And when they tied the knot, they meant it for life. Dave and Ann Wilson from Detroit, welcome to 100 Huntley Street.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
And I know it's not just about improving your marriage, because we can all improve, but it's really to get healthy. So Dave, let's go back to the 10th anniversary.
Do we have to?
Yeah, I know, it's painful, brother. I think a lot of guys are going to hear this guy. I relate to that. So you think at that point, things are going well. You're a chaplain for the Detroit Lions of the National Football League, ministry, you've got a family, beautiful wife. You're going to have your 10th anniversary. You got the roses. Everything's happening. What was going on, man? You thought things were good, right?
I mean, I honestly thought on a scale 1 to 10, we're a 10, but you can't say 10, so I say 9.8.
Okay.
And I was convinced my wife would agree. So when we go out on this 10-year anniversary date, you know, I had the roses, one for each year. So a rose would come and we'd talk about year 1, year 2.
Very romantic.
It was pretty cool. And on the way home, I thought it'd be cool to go parking, which was another surprise. And I mean, go parking.
Yeah.
And park in the parking lot of the school where we were about to start our church, which was a dream come true. And yeah, long story short is when I went over to kiss her in the front seat of this Honda Accord, she turns her head. And that's the first moment when I thought, maybe we're not a 10. That's the first time. I mean, I had no idea. So I tried to kiss her again because I just thought she didn't know. I mean, there's no way she didn't want to kiss me. We've been romantic, we've talked, I've spent money on a nice meal. So I go to kiss her again and she turns away and then I'm like, okay, what's wrong? And that's when I found out.
So what was wrong, Ann?
Well, at first I said nothing. You know, it's what we say as women sometimes is when he says, what's wrong? Nothing. Because I didn't want to wreck the night. Like he'd gone all out. He made this spectacular night. And I didn't want to get into it, but he kept pressing. And so finally, I was like, all right, here we go. Because the truth is, the way that Dave saw it wasn't the way I saw it. I was like, are you kidding? You're gone all the time. You're not engaged with me. You're not engaged with the kids. And so I was really frustrated. And I felt like if you gave me a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like, we're a 1, probably closer to a 0.5.
Oh my God.
Right. And
Painful.
so, yeah, so that night when he was pushing me, what's wrong? I finally said, I have lost all my feelings for you. I have nothing. And it was like total silence in the car. And I was ready for Dave to get really angry because that's how our pattern was. We go into this, I say, this is what's going on. He says, no, it's not, I'm always home. And then I thought, we're just gonna cycle right back into our same pattern of fighting. But this night didn't end up like that.
So Dave, that must have felt like a punch in the stomach. Why did you not get angry? You did something, I mean, I was very impressed when I was reading your story in the book. Tell me what you did. In that parking lot, we're gonna plant the church.
Yeah, and when she did say, I lost my feelings for you, I did initially start to get angry. In fact, I think I put it in the book, I don't even remember, but I reached back in the back seat, and that's where I had a day planner.
Yeah.
Remember the days when we wrote our schedule on paper?
It's on the phone now.
Yeah, right. I was reaching for it to prove to her, because I could show you, I have been home, and I was feeling that, like, you're wrong. There's no way I've been gone. And as I'm reaching, like I can feel like it's yesterday, I heard the voice of God. And it wasn't an audible voice, it was just the Holy Spirit of God lives in the soul of a follower of Christ. That's me, that's you. And he nudged me with 2 words, shut up. That's how direct it was. Shut up.
Well,
But sometimes God can be that direct.
yeah,
you know?
and he needs to be that direct
Yeah.
sometimes with guys. 'Cause, I mean, again, the thing I love about your book, by the way, it's called Vertical Marriage, the one secret that will change your marriage. And I want to get into that whole vertical aspect of it. But Ann, one of the challenges that we have, you know, for men is, Kate, we're working. Our number one thing is we're going to provide for our family. But the emotional disconnection, is that was really what was hitting you hard, that he wasn't engaged with you that
Yeah,
way?
I think for Dave and I, we had this dream of starting our life together, planning this church together. And I saw us as like, we're doing this together. And all of a sudden I felt like, wait, you're going without me and I'm here with the kids, like, let's do everything together. Not that I want Dave with me, but I felt like everything else was more important than our family. And so at first I was thinking like, this is wrong, and I got angry about it. And after a while, my anger turned to bitterness, and then my bitterness turned to resentment, and pretty soon I didn't even care. And so when he would leave the house and I'd be like, whatever, see ya, which was wrong of me. And so that night in the car, Dave ended up getting on his knees in our Honda Accord.
With the steering wheel in his back.
Yes! And he started praying.
Well, I mean, I would say this. That night I realized everything she just said was true. Everything I was doing outside the home was more important. I was not home. Detroit Lions Ministry, the church, we were actually traveling around the country, just started speaking on marriage and family. Think about that. And here our marriage is in crisis. And here's what I realized that night, and it's the whole idea of vertical marriage, is God said to me after he said, shut up, which really was listen. I heard him say one more word, and it was repent. And I knew in one word what God was saying is, if you want this to work, this horizontal marriage, it'll never work unless this vertical, Jesus is first. And I'm telling you, it sounds crazy for a pastor to say this, but I was doing the work of God and leaving God in the dust. I was not intimate with him, and I realized in one word, oh my goodness, if I don't get him back in control first in my life, this doesn't have a chance. So that's why I felt like I need to pray right here, and I need to be on my knees. I don't always pray on my knees, but that night, again, I don't know how I got turned around in a Honda Accord.
That's a little car, and you joined him, man. That was so cool. Okay, we're going to get into more of what it practically looks like to get into a vertical marriage and the importance of not trying to change the other person. We'll be right back.
I'm going to make him better. That's what I thought. But what happened was, I thought by doing that, Dave would be motivated. So I started critiquing or pointing out things he wasn't doing. Like, honey, if you just did this, or why don't you do this? And all it did was make him pull away.
Do you talk to God about his plans for you? Are you often busy, feeling like time is just slipping away? Do you tend to focus on the far-off future, or are you feeling stretched by daily demands? Why not pause and pray?
You'd be able to say, "Good morning, Lord. What do you have in store for me today?"
What If God Wrote Your To-Do List by New York Times bestselling author J. Payleitner will help you embrace opportunities to grow closer to God, reach out to others, and take better care of yourself. This is a to-do list for your soul.
Small things matter. You don't know what you're doing today that's gonna lead to greater things.
God is calling you to make the most of each day and live life to the fullest. And Crossroads wants to help you do just that. When you make a suggested donation of $45 or more this month, be sure to request a copy of this book as our thanks for your ministry support. Call 1-800-265-3100 or visit crossroads.ca/donate.
Dave and Ann Wilson are my guests. Vertical Marriage is the name of the book. There's so much great truth in this and very, very practical. You guys were so honest and so vulnerable. Kudos to you both.
Thank you.
When a lot of couples get married, and I do marriage counseling, I know you guys do as well. The thinking is, okay, I really like this guy. I mean, you said, like, this guy's the jock. He's the good-looking dude.
Look at him, look how cute he is.
He's great, but he was a little bit full of himself, right? But so you're thinking, I mean, you put it in the book. So you say, okay, maybe I can change him. Why is that a bad idea?
Well, I think I did. Like, I went all out, like, I am going to change him, and I'm going to make him better. That's what I thought. But what happened was, I thought by doing that, Dave would be motivated. So I started critiquing or pointing out things he wasn't doing. Like, honey, if you just did this, or why don't you do this? Thinking, oh, he's being motivated. And all it did was make him pull away. Because here's what happens. I think if I change Dave, I'll make myself happy. and I'll make him better, and then I'll be happy. So it became about me instead of about God. You can't change a person. You can try, like I tried. I tried for a long time.
You gave it a good shot.
Yeah, but all it did was it made Dave resentful. And I think that really hurt us.
Yeah, I discovered, and this went on, Greg, for decades. Her trying to change me. I never tried to change her. I never would do that. No, we're both doing it, you know, and I think so many spouses do. But I actually told a crowd one time, it's a long story in the book, but here's the bottom line. I told her, I feel like everywhere I go outside the home, I'm getting cheered. People are saying, you're good at this. They applaud me, not literally, but affirmed. Sure. And I feel like when I come in our house, I get booed.
Now, he didn't say this to me one-on-one. He said it in front of a whole group of people.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, he said it in front of all these people. So we go home, and we're in the car, and I was like, you think I'm trying to change you? I am helping you.
Oh,
that's what she said.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Because there is that difference, and you talk about it in the book. There is, I need my wife to critique me at times, vice versa, as long as it's out of love, and but not to criticize or roll the eyes.
Yes, and I was criticizing and critiquing, and I think if you talk about a love tank and filling that up with love, I was giving very little affirmation or even just really thanking Dave. I was continually critiquing him, and I think he lost all of his motivation, and I think that made him leave.
I actually didn't want to come home. I mean, I didn't know it. But I wanted to be out there where people are affirming
you, and
everybody's that way. Every man, every woman, you're drawn like a magnet to affirmation. And I'll just say this because this is a long story, but she started to cheer me, not literally, although I think it would be good for wives to put on cheerleading outfits. Anyway, she started to cheer me, and what I mean by that, speak words of life, affirm me. I remember when she first started doing that, again, decades ago, I didn't believe it. Like, I'm not that. She'd say, you're an amazing spiritual leader of our home. And I'm like, you've never said that. Because I'd heard the opposite for so many years. But I'm not kidding. Over time, she started consistently say that. And here's what I've noticed in me, is when she critiqued me, I became worse. It's almost like, oh yeah, you don't think I'm any good? Well, I won't be any good. When she started to speak life, I started to rise up to be the man she said I was, which I wasn't yet. And I've noticed this with men. When you speak life to them, they become better, and you get the man you dream of. But here's the thing. You can't change your spouse. You can only change yourself. You got to sort of offer that to God. But trust me, when you speak life to your man, speak life to your woman, speak life to your kids, something magical happens as they become better people.
Well, and I think what it is, God's always cheering for us. Like he looks at you, he looks at me and Dave, he goes, look at you, look at the greatness. And I had to ask God, I don't see that. Like, I don't see the greatness. Show me the way you see Dave. And I started noticing the good. And so then, if I had a critique to Dave, for Dave, he would receive it because I wasn't constantly criticizing him.
Right. Now, I want to talk about, before our time ends here, vertical marriage. Okay, it's God, but it's more than that. I mean, it's not more than God, but in terms of how does that live out when we don't put the pressure on each other, but we have that relationship with God. How does that practically work out every day?
And I think the bottom line is we try to find from our spouse what we're missing in our life. We even have a term for it. I found the one. You know, I mean,
the soulmate.
Yeah, I've found her, I've found him, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's beautiful. But then you get married and you think they're going to bring you happiness, and when you're discouraged or disappointed, and there will happen at some point, whether it's 6 years in or 6 minutes in, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm not as happy as I thought I'd be by marrying this woman. Here's what we think: I married the wrong person.
Yes.
That's why we say the secret that changes your marriage is, no, you didn't marry the wrong person. You're looking in the wrong place. You're never going to find happiness here. Not that this isn't great or anything on earth or pleasure. It's like you were made to find happiness from the only person that can give you happiness. It's in a relationship with Jesus. And again, like you said, Greg, it isn't, I go to church or I believe in God. No, it's a real intimate relationship with God that fills you. So think about this. Now you come back to your marriage. What? I don't need to get from her. I've gotten from God. I can now come back and serve and love and vice versa. That's what the genius of vertical marriage is. Now, again, it isn't a pat answer, but man, when this is real, it changes everything.
And how does it look real to you, Ann? Like, again, this is, most of our people watching are followers of Jesus. Yeah, I get the thing. Yeah. It's God in it. But how does that live out for you on a daily basis?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that happened for Dave and I after this 10-year anniversary was Dave, we said, we need to change this because my feelings did not come back overnight. And one of the things that happened was he said, let's go on a date night and talk. And for Dave, he's like, oh no, if we talk, does that mean I'm in trouble? But I was super amazed at this because we would go on a date night once a week. Here's the other thing, we did that and we also started praying daily together. That's what it looks like on an everyday thing.
Which is something we weren't doing either. So
Right.
there's the vertical prayer, but the vertical
But on
together.
the date night,
Goes
here's
on
what he
together.
would say. Okay, scale of 1 to 10, where are we? And
Greg, I hated asking this question. I didn't even want to know. I just I know it's not going to be what I think.
Is he 9.8 yet?
yes.
Oh, right. Way to go, Dave.
But he would ask that, and here's what he would say. If I would say we're a 4, he would say, I thought this was so humble. He would say, what does it take to get us to a 5 or a 6? Like, what would that look like for you? Which is such a servant's heart, and that might have melted my heart and restored feelings.
Wow. Well, thank you guys for coming on the program. We didn't even get to the sex part.
Okay.
Hey, guys.
It's in the book.
You got to read the book because we're all the same. I can just tell you. I'm not going to give away anything. But again, thanks, guys, for coming on and being, again, honest. Get the book. It's very important. Vertical Marriage, the one secret that will change your marriage. Got some great YouTube videos out there as well if you want to hear more from these guys. And if you're dealing with a marriage issue today, maybe you feel like you've given up or I married the wrong person. You know what? We have people that will pray with you, that love you. They're not going to judge you. You know, maybe your marriage is a 1 or maybe it's a 0, but with God there is hope. Give us a call, 1-866-273-4444, and there are people that will encourage you because we all need that and pray with you. We'll be right back.
While summer holidays are a much-needed time that many people take to refresh and rejuvenate, for many, the hurt in their lives doesn't stop. And neither can the healing message of God's love that Crossroads broadcasts each and every day, all summer long. So we'll be hard at work, creating and broadcasting our programs on air and online to millions of viewers each week, introducing thousands to new and renewed life with Jesus as we answer 1,200 calls every day on our 24/7 prayer lines, acquiring and creating children's content to bring positive Christian values to their smartphones, and much more. While you refresh your soul this summer, know that your donation to Crossroads will keep the message of Jesus in front of people who don't yet know his life-changing love. Because hurt takes no holiday. Healing shouldn't either. Give today at crossroads.ca/donate or call us at 1-800-265-3100.
Canadians are slowly waking up to the predator claiming lives in plague proportions. In less than 3 years, opioids have killed more than 10,300 Canadians. 93% were unintentional. In this urgent spiritual and public health emergency, we need prayer and action from Canada's faith community. It's time to give a care. Join us on June 18th at Crossroads Studios in Burlington for an evening of prayer and testimonies from opioid overcomers, grieving families, emergency responders, and addiction services. Or make a difference in your community by hosting a live screening of this event at your home, school, or church. Isn't it time you give a care about something bigger? Visit crossroads.ca/giveacare to attend the studio event, host a live screening, and download marketing tools to support your Give a Care movement. Visit crossroads.ca/giveacare or call 1-800-265-3100.
What an important topic that we all need to be a part of. So June 18th, we will have this opioid prayer summit right here at the Crossroads studio. You can go online, crossroads.ca/giveacare, and there are 2 items that you can do.
Yeah, you can go online, and that's so very important. As you mentioned, the website there, and you can see it on the screen as well. And you can have it in your home. You can have it in your church. We want to get everybody, praying about this. It's so very, very important.
Or you can join us right here live in the studio and be a part of that event.
Yeah, and get a ticket. It's something that we need to do. Anyway, it's now time for our Bible study time with Robbie Simons.
Question for you today. Do you have hope? You got hope? You got hope? If you have hope, it's evident upon your life. If we are truly saved in Jesus Christ and growing in Him, again, there's a difference. It doesn't mean life's easy. In fact, I find life gets harder, but that's where hope kicks in. So again, question, do you have hope? You're like, well, Robbie, it'd be helpful if you would define hope for me so I could answer the question more accurately. Okay, I'm glad you asked. Let's do that. Let's define hope. Hope is this. It is the confident, undying expectation based on God's perfect integrity that, again, allows us to know our future is 100% secure. And this is the best part. Despite the trial, despite the difficulty, despite any and all circumstances, that is the power of what hope does within our lives, okay? What's our text on this hope this week? Romans 8. Verses 18 to 25. Let me read for you verse 18. And as I read this verse, notice how hope is dripping from it, okay? Verse 18, Paul says this, "For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing to the glory that is to be revealed to us." And of course, that is in Christ Jesus. That verse just blesses me. Again, hope it's just dripping. I encourage you, take a drink. You take a drink of what's presented here, and your life will change by it and because of it. Again, why is this so profound? Well, what we have here is we're learning from Paul. Why was Paul so effective? How did Paul manage to be so persevering within persecution? How come Paul could be so calm within chaos? Why was Paul able to have such character within crisis? How come we often fall apart in the same circumstances, but this guy was subjected to so many difficulties, and yet his vision was so clear and his character so strong? The answer in this text right here is hope. Paul's value system was so profound. If I know I have hope, here's what I learn right now. I want you to see the first point of what we understand from this text. It changes what I value. Do you see Paul's value system? Paul says here in verse 18, he says, the sufferings of this present world. And when Paul says sufferings, he's talking about beatings, stonings, sleepless nights, starvation, shipwrecks, imprisonment, massive persecution, probably a little bit more than you and I. Yet he says, I consider the sufferings in this present world are not even worth comparing to the glory of the hope in Jesus Christ. Three main players are operating in verse 18. You have sufferings on a scale versus glory. And what Paul says he says between these two, it's not even worth comparing. That phrase, not worth comparing, means to weigh, or again, place on the scales. So isn't that awesome? Paul says, let's put the sufferings I'm going through on the scale, and let's put glory coming in Jesus Christ. And which one weighs more? It's like this, okay? The glory that is found in Jesus Christ eternally is so profound, so awesome, and so powerful, and makes everything we'll ever go through, not diminishing your life, not diminishing your trials, not diminishing your suffering. I'm just telling you, compared to when Jesus Christ returns, it's going to seem as a feather compared to the weight of the glory in Jesus Christ. If you and I have hope, then we change what we value in this life. Some of you, the Lord's speaking to right now, because you are desperately searching for this hope, you call us right now. 1-866-273-4444. Talk to one of our wonderful prayer line people to encourage you, support you, and love you, and point you to the path of hope eternal that allows you to go through sufferings of life because you see the glory in Jesus Christ that's coming.
All right, thank you, Rob. You know, as I've traveled around the world, I've interviewed hundreds of persecuted Christians, and that's one of the things they'll say, yeah, we're going through hardships, we're going through persecution, but the glory that will be revealed, it's all worth it. And I also wanted to say, Maggie, before we left today, I used to rank my marriage about a 9. Arlene had it at a 2. We're both around 7, 7.5, and 8 on a real good day.
That's good to know. And you know, again, as you said, hope is the key to a successful marriage as well. And again, we'd love for you to call our prayer lines, 1-866-273-4444 if you need prayer today. Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for your ongoing support of Crossroads, a member of the Canadian Council of Christian Charities. You can write to Crossroads, P.O. Box 5100, Burlington, Ontario, L7R 4M2.
Deeks Insurance is a proud sponsor of the 100 Huntley Street studio.